We actually have 22 hectares in total. At the moment I think we are almost reaching the half of the entire vineyards we have. So half is done, half has to come, and we hope to finish quite soon, because obviously everything depends on the weather conditions. If it starts to rain again, we have to stop the harvest, as yesterday and as the days before. Few rows here on top with grapes, and the rest here it's already harvested today. We kept those because we want to reach a different maturity with them, so we have to wait a bit more. And anyways, you can see the implant method, which is really tight. We have a narrow line and a really close gap between the plants. That means we are reaching 6 up to 7,000 vines per hectare versus the 3,000 vines per hectare kept in the past in this area. In the old times, the wine producers were basically farmers, not wine producers. And they used to produce their wine for self-consumption. So they had a low density of vines and a really high density of clusters in each plant. Now we're doing the opposite. We have a low number of clusters per vine, as you can see, which is 1 kilo per plant. So 1 bottle of wine produced per plant, with high density of vines per hectare. That puts the plants in competition. They will feel each other's, so they will start to grow straight and vertical, speeding up their process, because obviously going down deeper they will find less minerals than the top layers, so they have to organize the energy spent and the energy stored, and that makes the difference. That makes the consistency on the grapes instead of the huge loss of energies for the growth on top. This is our way, and you can see the heads of my colleagues. They're harvesting. When the crates are full of grapes, we gator them with the tractor, and immediately we bring them under the shades. So my colleague Fabio is now releasing on the field clean crates, because every time we bring grapes and we bring back empty crates, we wash them with water and citric acid to kill any possible bacteria, to avoid cross-contamination from vineyard. And now the clean ones are released for the harvesters. When they need an empty one, they will get it and they will continue to harvest.
And this is what kind of grapes are this?
This one is Sangiovese.
Sangiovese.
This one is our Sangiovese Prugnolo Gentile. Prugnolo Gentile, it's the name of the local biotype of Sangiovese. We're not using Cordone Speronato anymore, but Guyot Doppio, the double Guyot. So from the trunk, you have 2 horns. In each horn you will have the spar and the branch producing the fruits for the season. This is the spar, so the branch of the last harvest, the 2019 harvest, was growing here. Now we cut this during this winter. We kept one of the young branches to be the next production. For example, this one next year will be the one producing the fruits. So we will leave this, we will cut close this one because it's already dried, and we will create from this one another spar to keep lympha going in this section, providing nutrients for this one. So with this method of pruning, we are also saving the life of the vines, because we don't do huge cuts. The sections we expose are really tiny, so the healing, it's faster. We don't risk infections, bacteria. For us it's really better, because we tend to keep the vines as much as we can. This is the harvest. We harvest manually, picking all the grapes by hands, using these crates to bring them here from the vineyards. And inside every crate we have around 16 kilos of clusters, not more. And we can also stack them up without pressure. So the aim for us is to reach this side under the shades with obviously a good cover for the grapes without oxidation. We don't want to let them melt under the sun. We don't want to squish everything, throwing the content of the baskets inside a huge tank as in the past. So in this way we keep the full expressivity of the grapes, and the maximum result. To be really sure about the quality, when we are here, we also do a second selection. So all the clusters are shaped. Are shaped here in this shaking filter. We can drop all the dirt. It is everything that we don't need. On top of this running table, we are 4 people usually checking the bunches and trashing out everything that we don't like. Sometimes you have dried parts, not fully mature grapes, or just leaves. We take them out, and the good ones are destemmed. So this machine, a destemmer, it's actually pressing out the stem, the green part in front, and will press softly the berries dropping down. With that tool, the pump and the tubes are bringing the juice with skins and seeds inside the fermentation room, and there we will ferment more or less most of the wines we produce. See, we have some of the big stainless steel on the outside. Obviously we use them just to ferment, because when we ferment the temperature it's really high. Usually we keep it between 28-30 degrees, which is the average temperature. In this case we have a short but large stainless steel vat, so even the hat of skins during the fermentation and the extraction will be quite thin but wide. On the inside, where I'm bringing you, you will see other stainless steel vats underneath us and some oak casks in front of us. The oak ones are obviously providing more micro-breathing, and they also have a thicker and contained hat of skins. This is an Italian kind of cask. We call it botte troncoconica, so a standing cone cask. In Italian, botte means the big cask with high capacity. As you can see, we can remove the metal part on top, as there. Now all the grapes we select are ending there, actually. And when we keep it open, we have an open vat and we can ferment, we can punch down the skins, we can pump over the wine, so we can actually interact with it during the fermentation. But if we want to age wine inside, we just close it, we put the colmatore on top, which is the cork you have there. It's a cork with a water chamber, invented by Leonardo da Vinci. Most of the people said so. So with that kind of cork, the cask it's basically closed completely, and we will age the wine inside. In this case, we can use the same cask to ferment. And you can see here how we bring the juice inside the casks, just using pumps and tubes.
How old are these casks?
So, I think precisely, don't remember the age of them, but they should be around 10-15 years.
How long do you use them?
Or even more than 20 years. If the oak, it's same, and you scrap the inside, you know, to get a new layer of oak every even 6 years, they can be really long lasting. And you don't risk to ruin the right breathing, because the wood plank is really thick. Obviously, if we use barriques and tonneaux, the scrapping on the inside, it's not usually done, and if it's done, just once, because you risk to ruin the right breathing with hyperoxidation. So the point of using stainless or oak depends on the hyperoxidation we need and the extraction we need. Obviously, if we have grapes coming from young vines, or anyways sandy soil, the juice we produce will be focusing on acidity, not as much on the tannic side. So they'll be good for light wines, young wines, as Rosso di Montepulciano or the table wine. Mostly we'll ferment those wines here inside stainless, and 7-10 days will be enough to develop the sugar in alcohol and to extract from the skins what we need. The oak, it's really worth if you have complex grapes, as the one we tasted. The skin, it's really concentrated. You feel the tannins, you feel the structure of the wine, and obviously we will need more breathing more oxidation to macerate the skins, dissolving them, extracting everything inside the liquid wine. And there, after 10 days of fermentation, we keep other 10 days the skins releasing the nutrients inside the wine. So you release tannins, you release the anthocyans, which are the pigments, the color. You release minerals, everything, it's inside the skins. With the pulp, we just have water and sugar. And did you remember the seeds?
Yes.
If we crush the seeds during this process, we'll release bitter tannins and they will keep the wine rough and unbalanced. So that's why we do a soft press at the beginning. During the fermentation, with the processes like punching down, forlatura, and pumping over, rimontaggio, we don't crush the seeds. We filter out all of them. You can see the big basket and the metal filter. So when we pump over the wine, we let it drop out from one of the lower valves inside the filter, keeping seeds and skins. And outside the filter, we will have liquid wine contained by the basket with pumps and tubes. We pump over the clean wine without solid parts, so we don't risk to crush everything. And the guys on top, punching down the skins to mix everything, they are doing manually this. So we will have a long wooden stick with a shovel at the end, and with that stick we will punch down the skins manually to keep the seeds intact. That's why the wine will remain elegant. The first wine I will let you taste, it's our house wine. It's called the Ferrari, which is the surname of the family owning the estate. That's a 2019. And this is not a wine regulated by government law. It's not DOC or DOCG, it's an IGT. So you don't have the badge on the neck, but you can see the name of the region where the wine is produced, Tuskany. That means we can use all the grapes coming from Tuskany and allowed in Tuskany, but blending them, aging them, it's up to the producer. So it's kind of freestyle wine. And we do actually Sangiovese as a base, and a touch of Merlot for this one. Aging for 6 months in stainless steel. Sangiovese, especially if it's coming from sandy soil or young vines, will be providing a lot of acidity, lots of freshness, which is actually needed in our lifestyle to match most of the meals we're doing. You can try and experiment. Obviously, by itself, at the first sip, the wine can shock you a bit because the receptors are not ready for this freshness. Try to have a second sip to feel the wine in a better way. Try one of those addictive crackers and after taste the wine back. I think you will feel a complete different balance. Obviously, in our lifestyle, in our culture, the light, young wines expressing the freshness of Sangiovese are intended to be matching a meal. We don't usually drink them by themselves. If we do pecorino cheese, seasoned sausages, ham, salami, we will put something like this. Same thing for Rosso di Montepulciano. It's still young, crisp, vibrant, will be really different. You will feel the difference because here we have cherries by the nose. We have lots of fruits. It's really fruity and we feel cherries. We can feel the freshness, the acidity. The wine is really pleasant and it goes quick. You know, it's a quickly finish. So the next one will be following this style, but will have different nuances. Now, Rosso di Montepulciano, so the DOC used in this area, we have to follow the rules to make this wine. We actually use 85% of Sangiovese and 15% of Mammolo. This is the wine we aged for 6 months in concrete vats. Mammolo, it's another local grape which has a particular character. It's one of the few grapes having a scent. It smells of violets. Its name, Mammolo, comes from the viola mammola, the violet. Yeah, you have more fragrances, it's more delicate. By the nose you have more complexity because you do have fruits, you have flowers, you have something spicy. Seems like pepper, like green pepper. Always because mango, it's a bit more spicy. The acidity, it's still the main part in this wine. We don't want to feel the tannins. You will feel the tannins here, balancing with the acidity. For this too, the freshness is the point. Freshness and crispiness. Now with the next, we will start to feel more consistency and more structure because this is our Vino Nobile di Montepulciano. So the DOCG. DOCG, it's a mark of origin given to the historical wines of Italy. And here we have 85% of Sangiovese again. The rest is divided by Canaiolo, Colorino, and Mammolo. So the 4 indigenous grapes all together. The aging process for Vino Nobile, it must be 2 years before the release. And 1 year inside the oak, it's mandatory. We're actually doing 18 months in the oak and 6 months between concrete vats and glass bottle before the release. Now you feel the dryness of the tannins, but it's not too strong. It's not completely drying your mouth because you still have a nice acidity to support the entire structure of the wine. This is our main, aim. We obviously have 22 hectares, and in each vineyard we have different soil compositions. So it can be more sandy, more clayish, with more limestone, with more iron. And depending on the altitude, the sun exposure, and the soil layer, the character of Sangiovese is changing a lot. So you are basically experiencing different soil and climate conditions more than the aging. Young vines, sandy soil, and technological maturity. So we pick the grapes before the evolution on the tannic side to make this. Here we have older vines, 10, 15, 20 years old vines used to produce the grapes. Sandy, clayish, red soil, and maturity is going to the phenolic side. So we need more pigments, more tannins, more structure. The last one will be different again. So last but not least, we have Vino Nobile Riserva. Riserva means that we do a longer aging before the release. It must be 3 years in total. 24 months in the oak is the minimum required, and we also need 6 months inside the glass bottle mandatory before the release. We're actually doing 30 months in the oak, using different sizes of oak barrel, 6 months inside the glass bottle. The blend is 90% of Sangiovese and 10% of Colorino. And something particular about this wine is we don't do this label every year, just in the best vintages. The selection of grapes comes from very old vines. They must be 25 years old vines minimum. And they're growing hard, huge part of them. It's growing in a limestone area. It will change a lot the perception of the tannins in this one.
How old is your winery? How old is the winery?
They started in the 1962 as a hobby. The family turned the hobby into a business just in the 1968, so around anyways 60 years. Because now we have the third generation officially, that's 50 years selling wine, but they started a bit before producing for their consumption. And actually, in the Montepulciano area, Boscarelli, back in the 60s, was one of the 4 Vino Nobile producers. So they are some of the elders of this area. Even if the concept of Vino Nobile belongs to the medieval period, we started to rule the wines from every county in each region with the DOC just at the end of the 60s, and with the DOCG, so dividing the historical wine and the regular wines. In the 1980, Vino Nobile was the first wine sold in the 1980 with the DOCG badge, the first of Italy.